Look, I consider that the basic purpose of military is always to maintain deterrence, or to achieve deterrence and establish it and maintain it. And if it is lost, you can't tell your enemy that you have to respect my the deterrence capabilities. But if it is, breached, then you need to regain it. I personally feel that if your forces are unable to regain it conventionally, it don't bring much of a grace or a much of effect for the nation. You may regain it or you may re-establish it, not in a classical sense, through your non-state use of non-state actors or maybe some other non-conventional means and ways. Then you may do it for a very small period of time, but that doesn't bring you the meaningful, existence or kind of a meaningful approach for the nation and for your state. So you may bleed your enemy, you may create problems for them, you may create new avenues of friction elsewhere or maybe around you. But that I don't think so. That helps you in moving forward economically, socially, politically, or maybe your diplomacy will always remain under stress. So sometime you have to you have to listen to even to your own very close friends and allies who always will have something not happy kind of a feeling with you, and maybe not doing business in a classical sense. So these are the problems. Yes, in the Iranian context, Hezbollah is again back because unfortunately Israel is not interested in the positive peace in the region. So they also need to have a kind of a friction. This is my personal feeling and thinking that Israel, countries like Israel who have expansionist designs, they always need to have a kind of a friction to pursue their expansionist design. So they create a casus belli, a reason for the war, and then they pursue it by physically attacking or physically expanding. So Gaza and Palestine is a classical example in front of us. I don't have great evidence for this or any information, but one thing is certain: Russia is already in war against Ukraine, and you know that Ukraine is being supported by the West and United States. So sometimes this contestation between the two main competitors, they always keep you in the game. You can't be kept out of it, and you can't, Russians already have shown their sport in Middle East. If you remember the way they were sporting their elements in Syria and all that. And we were expecting once this Syria fall was taking place that Russians may come in a little more effective manner to protect Assad regime or. So there have been connections between Russia and these resistance forces in Middle East. So they have a role in Middle East, and I can expect this, that Russians must be supporting Iran. These are two independent countries. They must be supporting Iran in some way or other because this is the application of their main competitor, United States. So United States has always openly, it is not a covert sport against Russia in all domains, in economic, political, in military. So they have been supporting overtly. And then very pronouncedly, even they have been intimidating and coercing all those nations other than Russia, those who have been doing business with Russia. So it means that this is kind of an opportunity to Russia as well to settle a little bit of score somewhere. So I can expect that, and that's and once again I reiterate that these are two independent countries, and I'm sure they must be having some linkages. And if this sport is coming from Asia, this is no surprise to me, at least. These phenomena are, there are fluid things happening in the application of such phenomena. So sometimes they are little effective. Sometimes they become a kind of a. I personally feel that your conventional forces should have strength to respond. But anyway, sometimes these militias are such elements, they become kind of a burden on you. But anyways, if you have been investing and if you have been helping and creating these militias to fight a war and to protect your interests, so it means that you must have figured them out very carefully in your strategy, how you will use them in your strategies. Yes, this is a kind of a seesaw application. But one thing is very certain, that such elements, they keep the enemy guessing about, they keep hitting enemies, though slowly, but they bleed enemy. That's why that these were considered as the main, even in Lebanon and elsewhere in Middle East. So these headquarters of these elements are being targeted, but other countries are suffering. So they can create problem, but they will achieve your strategic objectives. I have my doubts. This is a complex situation for Pakistan, but that's why Pakistan has been, emphasizing on a peaceful approach as far as Saudi Arabia and Iran is concerned. And Pakistan has been playing an important role in creating some kind of CBRs, CBMs between these two countries, and some assurances have also been given. Yes, this is going to be a very sensitive issue, but Saudis also understand our proximity and being their Iranians' neighbors. And Iranians also understand. They exactly know that we are in the strategic partnership of Saudi Arabia. That's why these locations are, But anyways, I can understand that will have, then Pakistan will have a kind of a situation. But one thing is very important, that yes, we have brotherly relations with both the countries. Iran is our neighbors, but with Saudi Arabia has always stood with Pakistan. So, and now we have seen a lot many things happening inside Pakistan, especially once these processions were taken out as far as Shahadat of Hazrat Imam Ali Khomeini was concerned. So there is a strong feeling within Pakistan. It's a large percentage of people who will have, those will be impacted. Pakistan has there can be a kind of a catch-22 situation for Pakistan, and it will have implications in Pakistan. So this is going to be very, very sensitive as far as our response is concerned. Then we might have to generate or create some kind of a response within as well. So this is it's a serious situation for Pakistan. We must keep our fingers crossed, and we must continue with our effective and good diplomatic maneuvers with Iran and Saudi Arabia, both, to keep them at certain levels. This is $1 million question. Once I start analyzing and I start thinking about approach by one person, that is President Trump, this unpredictability attached with President Trump, that makes you confused. But anyways, I think Iran will keep resisting, as you already mentioned about reactivation, maybe, or not reactivation, but at least increasing the activities of Hezbollah and other non-state actors in the Middle East. And then nobody knows exactly the kind of a stockpiles Iran are having, as far as their missile response is concerned, because this is the only response left. Then there are problems for United States and Israel as well. That's why we are hearing about other options, bringing boots on ground, using Kurdish forces, using other non-state actors. Bringing those elements on the media, and nowadays you are finding interviews of different Kurdish leaders sitting elsewhere other than it means that these phenomena are also being brought into the strategy. So it means that your options are reducing in the conventional domain. Once those options, and then you are also creating more pressures as well. So if you are not going to surrender, we are going to use these things. So these are the things which creates lots of doubts. But I'm not foreseeing that an early closure of these conflict, because now this demand of total surrender, and that too from the Iranian society, that's a huge ask. That's a huge ask as far as President Trump is concerned. But again, it's President Trump. So every morning when I get up, first thing which I do every morning is to see what has come out of the White House bedroom. So every day he keeps changing his positions. He's taking some time. We have found him taking U-turns, changing his positions. So every second, third day, new things are coming out of the Washington. So that creates a lot of doubts about the application. But this new demand of total surrender, it's a huge one for Iran. I'm not foreseeing any Iranians going down so quickly and so easily. that this is a huge problem. This is kind of a this can be a there can be strategic and operational implications for Pakistan as far as these prices are concerned, because we are already in a situation with Afghanistan. Then we have a threat on the eastern border as well that always looms around. So it's over always looms over us. As far as this defensive and things are concerned. And secondly, our economy don't have space. So every individual of Pakistan is feeling the stress. Last evening, I mean, there was kind of a panic in Pakistan, to be very honest. Huge lines and uncertainty. So this will impact our economy, and that's why the Iranians are. It's not that in the Pakistani context, but that's why Iranians are, creating kind of a cost for the the whole world. So they want that the world must scramble and get into this diplomatically at least and politically, and you will feel this heat elsewhere as well. So economies like Pakistan, which has not much of spaces, so they're always under stress, and this is going to be enhanced. So that's the scenario. There is always a heat of the war, maybe at certain levels, but of course, these Gulf states are not, they're not used to having friction or kind of environment of war stress for a very longer period of time. Yes, Kuwait has fought a war, but that war was between, two Muslim countries. Iran has also seen war. Kuwait has seen war. But UAE and Saudi Arabia has seen the spillovers of the war, but not a real direct confrontation. So this is for the first time that they're having this kind of a stress. And of course, they're not used to or trained to work under such environment for a longer period of time. Countries like Pakistan, we have seen the spillovers, we have seen the war, we have seen the economic stresses, we have seen sanctions, but we kept moving. But our society is different. These Arab society is altogether different, and then there are huge international investments. So it's not all about only these Arab states. This is all about those international investments which are in their countries, and of course, and this is the best tool with Iran. That's why they're creating this cost for these countries. So they scramble to, and economy is always at priority. Geoeconomics has always led, and in the present era, we all can assess that geoeconomics are leading. The implications are leading policies. So that's why I really think that yes, of course, there must be some stress, and they will have to, not only might, they will have to scramble quickly to bring some kind of solution to this war. Otherwise, these societies don't have much of spaces, and they don't have much of patience. This war patience of nations is very, very important nowadays. We call it nowadays how much pain this nation can take. And these societies are not used to taking these pains in economic, social, political, or military terms. There's not countries like Pakistan that they have a lot of patience, and they've seen war like that. With the kind of enemy that Iran is facing, and with the kind of application, this is very much expected that this can happen. And probably there are few reports also. It's not. I'm not sure. I'm not confirmed because I don't have information on this. But this has been happening in the past. This has been happening with the past, and this Zionisms, both Zionisms. This is kind of a strategy in that. This resides in their in their thinking and their application. This is always there, and this can happen, and that will bring disaster to the This is going to be disastrous for Arab countries, Muslim countries, and this can happen, and this must be there in their strategy. Unfortunately, in the real world, for me, I'm going to foresee a very, very weak, complete Middle East. If they don't get united, or at least they put pressure on America and Israel also, that this is not the way to, whatever military or political objectives US and Israel have to achieve. they must put pressure on these two countries to achieve them as soon as possible and get out of this military application mode. You can't change it because Iranian society, I'm not foreseeing that they'll be able to achieve that change of mindset, or the change of their way of the way they are approaching. This is not Iraq, this is not Libya or Lebanon, dictators were there, there were regime change. You look what Americans have achieved in Iraq. If they have, they have been kind of a reason for having Iranian influence in, in Iraq after removing Saddam. So Iranian influence in Iraq was increased because of the American application. So they have been, for me, they have helped Iran to establish that influence in Iraq, elsewhere as well. So this is for me, this is very extremely questionable. So after this application, I'm not foreseeing any big change in Iranian society. Yes, they have issues, but these issues are not like what the people of Iraq or Libya or Lebanon, I mean, they were having with their leadership. So again, the system is in place. And then with Iran, I have a feeling that they don't forget things very quickly. They keep it somewhere. So this will keep creating situation for Arab world. So, and of course, once your strategic autonomy is not there, once you are dependent on West and United States in all domains, how can you have your own autonomous policies? And so that's why I'm foreseeing a weak Middle East, and that suits the larger designs of this and expansionist designs of Israel. So the kind of hegemony Israel wants in that region, so that is there. I'm not saying that they should get together, join together, and go for war against Israel, but at least their policies must reflect that they want to put a stop to this expansionist design, and that main solution is lying in this. Number one is stopping of this war, and number two is the just solution of the Palestine. That is the litmus test, because there are Muslim countries, Arab countries, those who are on the board of peace. Pakistan is also there. So that is for the public back home. For them, this success has to be brought back through this board of peace. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of stress and a lot of friction between the people and the regimes in all the Arab countries and all those countries. Those who are part of this board of peace, and if they are unable to. So these effects, they impact the societies. That's why I'm foreseeing, if this war doesn't end quickly, we are going to see a weaker Middle East in all in domains. I think this is not the best time. This is not the best time because Pakistan, I feel, is kind of still can play an important role, being a bridge. If you will walk out of this board of peace, then your leverages on the United States, those will be reduced. But we should take advantage of this, not for, of course, for Pakistan also, but again for the larger peace in Middle East. We are strategic partner of Saudi Arabia. We have already spoken about it. Iran is our brotherly neighboring country, and over a period of time, especially in the recent past, our relationship has been improving. That's why we have heard the slogans of Tashakkur in the Iranian parliament. Who could think this happening 3 years back, 4 years back, once these convulsion phenomena were there? And good thing about Pakistan is, though people, we get emotional very quickly. Good thing about Pakistan, if something negative happening even to us from other soils or other countries, we don't disengage. The best policy is the policy of engagement. If we had disengaged with, you remember, there was an incident of a missile strike from Iranian soils, and then Pakistan also responded. So that was the worst time. I mean, we have had bad incidents also in the past, but Pakistan never disengaged. Pakistan always believed in, so this, if we disengage from the board of peace at the moment, that leverage of having kind of a connection with America, which can bring also peace for Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Middle East. So that will be weakened. Probably Pakistan should exercise patience at this moment, and take full advantage of this kind of a relationship with with America, and emphasize on more chance given to diplomacy.